Did you know that 90% of startups fail, but Christians have an edge? And I'm going to explain why. Welcome back to another episode of the Thoughtbot Podcast. I'm Emily, your Bold Life coach, who is also very passionate about entrepreneurship. And you are going to want to stay tuned to this because I'm telling you, you are made for a purpose. And maybe it's not starting a business, but it's starting a ministry or even making an online impact using your gifts and skills and talents that God put in you. Don't fail. Let's keep it rolling. And I'm going to tell you why Christians have this edge. In this episode, we're diving deep into the intersection of faith and business, and we're sharing how Christians have an edge to beat the scary statistic I mentioned at the top of the show, and how successfully to start a business if you're a Christian. Today, the world is coming for the beliefs, the standing, and the validity of our faith as Christians. It's so easy to look back and see the countless examples of canceled, legal warfare, quieting, and censoring people of faith for our wrong way of living. What I find so interesting is that the founders of our country were Christians. They understood the phenomenon of free will. People have to make their own choices in life, and that also includes coming to God. And as business leaders and owners and people going out in this world to make an impact, being Christian, we must stand on that same principle. Meaning being a Christian does not exclude us from working alongside, working in a company, hiring people, serving others who are not of our faith. And that's very different from other religions. When the disciples asked Jesus, what is the biggest thing? What's the most important thing to do? What is our highest commandment? And he said, love God with all your mind, heart, and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yes, we are meant to be out in the world. We're meant to be owning businesses, hiring people, serving our community, putting our gifts and talents and knowledge and experience and wisdom out into the world because that impacts lives. And we aren't sequestered to only operating in faith-based realities. We are called to be out in this world. And this is part of the edge that we have. Starting a business is inherently challenging. There's a high risk of failure. Studies show that 90% of startups fail and 10% of them happen within the very first year. The reasons for these failures are varied, ranging from lack of market research, lack of market need, change in market need, change in supply and demand, running out of resources, supply chain problems, running out of cash, not having the right team. There's so many different factors. But for Christian entrepreneurs, there's this added layer of our faith because it also poses as a very unique advantage. Our businesses rooted in strong values with a higher purpose often demonstrate much greater resilience and customer loyalty. So how do we maintain this integrity? In the competitive business world, it's easy to compromise on values for short-term gains. For Christian entrepreneurs, upholding this integrity means consistently aligning our business practices with Christian values, even when it might be more convenient or profitable to do otherwise. Maintaining integrity manifests in different ways, like honest advertising, fair treatment of our employees, ethical sourcing of our materials, fair pricing. The story of Truett Cathy, who is the founder of Chick-fil-A, comes to mind for many people when we think of big Christian corporations because they're closed on Sunday. No fast food company does that, and there have been countless studies and projections showing how much money he's lost by not being open on Sunday and how much money he will still lose by not being open on Sunday. And here's the interesting thing. I always want Chick-fil-A on Sunday. So he may just have a business plan because the craving builds and it has to be satisfied during the week. So I think that by him standing on that principle, it also gives him brand recognition. People are like, dang, if he is willing to put profit aside for that, this is legit. And I want to give my money to him. I want to give my money to that business. And when people start to recognize that you operate from authentically, faithfully true values, people like that. People gravitate to that. People gravitate to real, true good, right? And we as Christians are exemplifying the light of Christ. So we have that on our side. Then the other thing is finding purpose. So many entrepreneurs and startups, they jump in, they have a purpose. A lot of times it's money motivated. Sometimes it's definitely trying to get something in the space that they're super passionate about. They think they have the edge, the different, the one thing that's going to really solve a problem for people. But when you don't have it tied to this higher purpose of like your calling in life, a lot of times motivation can dwindle when you're faced with terrible adversities or obstacles. Having having that higher purpose involved in your business decision making makes the most tremendous difference in understanding and valuing the right types of choices to make. It is so easy to lose sight of motivations when we're dealing with the pressures of daily operations. So as Christian entrepreneurs, we have this advantage of prayer and grounding our business in such a higher purpose. So for instance, David Gring, he is the founder of Hobby Lobby. He integrates his faith by supporting Christian ministries and ensuring that company practices are supporting biblical principles. This sense of purpose provides this very strong foundation and motivation, especially during challenging times, and I would say impacts the customers and the people working for that company because they know that there is this truth behind the company that they work for. It makes them feel empowered, it makes them feel strong, and it makes them feel proud. And when you are putting something out in the world that's going to take so much time, energy, sacrifice, and obstacles, like challenging, working through things, knowing that you have a pride in the thing that you're working towards because of this purpose God has given you is such a motivating factor. I've been in this online content creation space for over a decade, and my mission and my goals and the people that I serve have shifted and pivoted and evolved and changed, and what I hoped to launch back 10 years ago is totally different than today. And I've had a lot of come to Jesus moments. I've had a lot of crying and praying on the floor, asking God, what am I doing wrong? What am I not doing? What can I do? What do I need to see? Who is it I need to impact? And asking these questions has kept me motivated, knowing that even though I'm sacrificing time, investments, energy, and all of that, sleep, it's worth it because I know that I'm putting out into the world something I'm proud of because I know God is calling me to it. It's a totally different way of working. And not to say you can't find this if you are working in a 9-to-5 right now. Maybe you're trying to side hustle your business into existence. That is totally what I did, and that's totally normal. So even just having this perspective will help shift you, and if you're in that transition phase too of working and what that means. The other thing is balancing that faith and decision making. So I mentioned prayer because that is like the number one business tool that I have in my tool belt. I make decisions that don't make a lot of sense to other people who would be in my industry and doing what I'm doing because I know that I'm following God's lead. And it may align with that person to market that way, to sell that way, to position themselves in that way. It doesn't align with me. And I have a very strong calling on what aligns with what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And so that helps me as a Christian entrepreneur not fall into the trap of doing the things that are trendy, to doing the things that people are doing in a burns fast but burns quickly out, and not trying to ride the wave of trending stuff. And as a content creator, trends are like the thing, going viral and chasing that virality. It's not sustainable and it doesn't oftentimes align with what I'm doing. So I'm not going to just create content to ride that wave. I have a different purpose for what I'm doing, and I'm hoping to make a different type of impact. So that keeps me motivated, it keeps me grounded, and it keeps me making choices that are way much more aligned, that ultimately help me make way better business decisions, stay focused, and I'm able to have a much better mindset without getting imposter syndrome or this fear of failure or this analysis paralysis state. I've been in those, I've experienced those, but I quickly recover and stay on the path that God is leading me down. This is such an edge that Christian entrepreneurs have over secular business owners. The next thing is building a faith-based brand. So creating a brand that openly reflects Christian values can be challenging in a diverse marketplace. There's a risk of alienating potential customers or facing backlash for standing firm on certain issues, but building a faith-based brand requires authenticity and consistency. And there's a point to be made here that even it doesn't mean if you're a Christian and you want to start a business, it has to be faith-based. If you're a nail artist and you want to start putting your content online, you want to start booking clients that way and putting your brand out there, it doesn't mean that all your nail art has to be Christian, like crosses and Bible scriptures and whatever else. Like, your business doesn't have to be faith-based forward, but the point here is to understand that your faith should be the foundation with which your business is built upon. If that's what you are doing, you could be a septic maintenance man. And if you're a Christian, I'm telling you, you are going to make a positive impact in that industry. You are going to make a positive impact in the lives of your customers because you are operating from a faith that is filled with the love of Christ, and the world needs that. so many Christian entrepreneurs get caught up in, oh, I shouldn't do that business because it's not faith. It's not faith-based. I'm not like becoming a Christian speaker or author, or I'm not making Christian bookmarks or something like that. And so they feel like they're not meant to be an entrepreneur because they're Christian. That could not be further from the truth. God works in everyone's lives. He works through every scenario. It could just be a simple conversation you have at the home you're putting a septic tank in that changes the life of that family and the generations that come from it. So there is such a higher calling on Christians being out in this business world, being in this entrepreneurship space. It doesn't matter what business you are in, you're making an impact being a Christian out in the business space. So that's part of your business. That's part of your brand. It's just being you, being the Christian that you are, loving the Lord and loving others as you love yourself, as He has commanded us to do. Another big thing is financial stability. So financial stability is always a concern of any business. You should be very mindful of your finances, your profit, your margins, all of this. And being a Christian entrepreneur might have this extra layer of that, like stewarding wise the resources that they're giving. One thing that I've prayed for, just being candid here, one thing I've prayed for so much over my business is to earn income that allows me to just meet the needs of people in my life that I'm close to, that I hear about, that I'm acquainted with ministries. Like, I want to be able to have resources to literally just give and meet needs, because what else am I doing with my resources? So knowing and understanding how to steward those resources well. And financial stewardship is guided by biblical principles. God speaks about money constantly in Scripture because He knows that it is such a resource for this world, and it can be turned into a hardship, an evil thing. But if stewarded well, it is an absolute limitless opportunity to meet the needs of God's kingdom and to serve in mighty ways. So financial stewardship is guided by biblical principles, which emphasizes this importance and this understanding of avoiding waste and not being so selfish and all of these things. So entrepreneurs can really apply so many biblical principles taught in Scripture about money to their business and see how provisions are met and how needs are met and how God comes through and provides and meets those needs of stewarding well what He has provided to you through your business. So avoiding debt when possible, giving generously to charitable contributions, and meeting the needs of people and having these transparent financial practices is actually a huge benefit to Christian entrepreneurs. And it also keeps things so much more easy to maintain and understand because you're not doing anything shady with your money. The next thing is fear of failure. So fear of failure and self-doubt go hand in hand, and they can be very significant obstacles for any entrepreneur. For Christian business owners, these fears also are concerning and creep up and are part of your life, but whether their business endeavors align with God's will or not is really the litmus test. And so overcoming fear and doubt involves trusting in God's promises and seeking His guidance. Isaiah 41:10 offers reassurance. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. By focusing on these promises, entrepreneurs can find the courage and the confidence to pursue their business goals. Like I mentioned earlier, as Christians, we are afforded the gift of failing up, failing forward, not failing backward, because even if things do not turn out the way that we hope or expect or pray for them to, there is a purpose in that. And there is always something to gain with the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding of what comes through that challenging circumstance that you may face. And it's okay. And I understand, because I am definitely a person who is scared of failing. I'm scared. I deal with confidence and wanting to not appear like I don't know what I'm doing. And so these are normal struggles and normal things, but the greatest gift that God has given us is the ability to overcome, and he doesn't forsake us. And so when we are pursuing something that God has called on our heart, when we are seeking His guidance, when we are prayerfully making decisions, aligning our goals with His goals, God is not going to forsake that. And even if the outcome is not what you anticipated, it does not mean that there is not something huge to be gained from the whole experience. So the importance of faith in business. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all of our heart and lean not on our own understanding. In all of our ways, submit to Him and make our paths straight. Being a Christian with a business is yet just another extension of our lives that can be a testimony to Christ. And when we are reliant on God's provision and guidance, we get to experience God. We get to experience God working in our lives. That isn't only about the profit margin of the business. It's about the community, the impact, the growth of ourselves, of our company, of seeing our internal faith change, and the legacy with which the business builds for not just us or the product or the service that we offer, but meeting the needs and having such a deeper influence on all that are involved in the experience of that company. Think of faith as this GPS for your business journey. Just as a GPS provides direction, faith offers guidance, especially during ups and downs and the roller coaster that it is to own a business. I love hearing stories about Christian business owners beating the odds, building something out of this normal operation of a company, or creating an impact that builds this community that God has longed for us to be a part of. So many times there are stories of people starting companies that they had this one little idea and they never knew that product could be utilized for something else that changes the world of people. And I love hearing testimonies. Testimonies is my favorite thing about being a Christian. And you can just research so many. Simply ask other Christians in your life to hear their testimony. You'll be amazed. And to see the resources that businesses are able to accomplish being faith-based and what they can truly do impactfully for God's kingdom is so inspiring. And there are so many stories out there. So what are some practical tips for starting your faith-based business? So I've pumped you up. I've told you it's okay that you're a Christian. You can start a business. You can be an entrepreneur. You can get into this crazy world of entrepreneurship. Here are the tips. Align your business with your faith values, number 1. Number 2, seek divine guidance for your decision making. Number 3, build or get involved in a community of Christian entrepreneurs or Christian business owners. There are so many community groups that you can be a part of that are faith-based, and you are going to want the support of other faith-based business owners. It makes a true difference because their business practices you will be able to see clear as day, are so different than those who are not of the Christian faith. Also, integrate faith into your marketing. Use your business platform to exude the light of Christ. You will be amazed at the impact that this makes in just your customer loyalty and how much they will be excited about your brand. And also keep a Sabbath and rest. This is something I definitely did not do when first starting out. I have gone through several cycles of extreme burnout where I just literally shut down everything and do nothing. And that is a very hard lesson to learn, and someone who is always trying to be extremely productive, being restful is actually a challenge for me. So make sure that you are baking that in, because God will get your attention one way or the other, and He calls people to practice the Sabbath for a reason. It's for your good, and it's going to give you a lot more longevity and a lot more awareness and present mind to make better decisions for your business. So when faith meets business, it's not just about profit, it's about purpose, impact, and living out your calling in the marketplace, which is so needed in today's world. Think of your business as a tree planted by streams of water. With faith as its roots, it will bear fruit in season and prosper. Remember, with God at the center of your business, you're not just building a company, you're advancing His kingdom. And what a mighty calling that is. Let's close with Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I would absolutely love to hear your experiences. If you are a Christian entrepreneur, if you've started a business, if you've been thinking about it, if you've been ruminating on an idea and just haven't taken the action yet, have you started? Are you scared? What is the holdup? What is the success story? I want to hear all about it. And don't forget to download our Unstuck workbook and our roadmap to 10K blueprint to kickstart your faith-based business journey. I am so excited. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And now you've got your wheels turning on what you can put out into the world in God's name. So until next time, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Until next time, go live with bold intention, everyone.